Welcome everybody. We are here live under the Mass Radio. Another great exclusive multimedia visual and audio interview here in 2023. Under the Mass Radio here. We have a great guest. You've seen him on TV. If you haven't, you lived under a rock. And if you did see him on TV, you probably didn't know his name. The man is amazing. He has a government name, but he goes by his stage name. This man lives in Montana. He's Mr. Montana. He played college for Montana State. This man has done so many great things. He's a bodybuilder. He's an All-American, college and professional football. This man has a great smile. This real estate. This man has been the only American Gladiator to have been in all 7 seasons. If you call
Wow.
this sports, the Iron Man, every single season. This man that you see to my left, Eric's top left, or maybe it's top right. Whatever device you're using, you could be upside down or all around. You see the great man here with his great smile. All 7 seasons of the American Gladiators. Not even mentioning even some side stuff he's done is off camera. The true Iron Man of the American Gladiators. This man played for the LA Rams in 1987. As we know, it's a replacement year. It doesn't matter if you feel some type of way. This man was good enough to be in the NFL, to play for the NFL, and you didn't play. So you have nothing bad to say. Regardless if it was the replacement league or the strike year, he still played on the NFL field. This man played during the strike. This man is a great father, 3 wonderful daughters, has a wonderful wife. He's been with for so many years. Great smile. We had it. I had his action figure. So
Thank you.
Tim had his action figure. I don't know where they at. It got lost. You seen him on the 30 for 30 documentary, part one and part two. You see him on the Netflix, Made Him the Muscle 5-part documentary. We will bring in momentarily the man himself, Jim Starr, better known as Laser from the American
Awesome.
Gladiators. You can find us on Under the Met Radio on YouTube, Under the Met Radio. Find us on Instagram or IG, as the kids say, Under the Mets Radio, all one word. Hit us up with our email, Under the Mets Radio at gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook as well, those who still use Facebook. And on Twitter, Under
That,
the Met Radio. We are found. Our handle is tech, TECH _UTMR. I emphasize Twitter because I found out today Twitter no longer has the bird. The bird name is Tweet. It now has a random X, whatever the hell that is. So just to let you know, Elon Musk officially changed the company's. He owns it, right? Is it Elon Musk? Is he the one? Okay, I just want to make sure. Elon Musk. I thought it was he didn't change the Twitter logo. So the black background, the funny looking ass X, that's Twitter. Find us on there. But now being said about us, I'm Chuck. I'm here with the long ass beard. I'm here with the headphones. The bottom left, the bald head man like a milk dug. It's all team. How you feeling?
Doing good. Get your ass whooped.
And shout out to you, missing comrades, XO, Queenie, LSR, the Chuckster, DR, and Toph. But enough here from us. We got a great guy. I gave a long intro. Man himself. You saw him as a kid, as a grown up, maybe a little older, maybe a little longer, but you've seen him on TV. None other than Laser for the American Gladiators. Welcome, brother.
Hey, thank you, Evan. Thank you, Eric, for having me. I appreciate it, and you reaching out. And yeah, I'm glad we finally made it on the show here. So I appreciate the introduction. Really do. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
man.
you.
Appreciate that time. Great smile. Still got that great smile. Gotta do the pose, man. You see, gotta do the laser pose.
Oh, stop. Yeah.
Look good, man. Not
Yeah.
not not to mention ages. As I mentioned before, shout out to my late mother. She would have turned 63 on Monday. For you yourself, Jim, you put up about you being 61 and you showing the guns, same guns from back in the day, the American Gladiators. Tell us about you being post 60 and still keeping the shape and looking good.
Yeah, it's just it's all about consistency. I've been training since I was 14 years old. The only time I've ever taken off really is for recovery with surgeries, right? A couple vacations here or there, but it's a lifestyle. So, people always ask me, 61 years old, I still fairly, I'm still active, fairly good shape. And it's really just, it comes down to a lifestyle. And, I just make it a point every day to go to the gym. I watch what I eat, and just take care of myself. And, I've been in the sports nutrition world in the corporate world for the last 26 years in product development for nutritional and dietary supplements. So, that motivates me to keep in shape. And, to me, your health is everything. And so, there's some things that are inevitable that we may acquire down the road, disease or whatnot. But, if you can do whatever you can, because, we're like a machine, when your car's not running good and it's running crummy, and you go get it fixed because you're not getting to work or pick up your kids from school. So, that's the one thing that we as a society, we don't focus on us and keep us finely tuned like a car, and eventually we run out of gas just like a car does if we don't take care of ourselves. So yeah, so I just it's just it's important to me. So I try to make it a lifestyle, and that's really about it. So
Great. Now let's talk about your laser diets. Talk about taking care of yourself, nutrition, which you have a vast background in of years of sports nutrition and taking care of yourself and working out. With what's going on now with the different diets, you have people that are keto and people doing different diets that are pescatarian,
yeah,
vegan, and all the different type of vegetarians. Some people that eat meat or different cheese and eggs and all this type of
yeah.
stuff. What about you? What is the laser diet? What are some things that you eat that works for you? Because all of our
Yeah,
bodies are different. And what are some things that you eat and that you don't eat anymore?
yeah, for sure. So, you mentioned all those diets, Mediterranean diet. There's so many diets that have been created, and, there's nothing wrong with those. If somebody is a vegan, someone is into a whole food plant-based diet, which is, I think, one of the best out there, a Mediterranean diet. But, there's nothing wrong with that as long as you believe in it, and that's what you're accustomed to. But, I've never been on a specific diet. What I try to do is follow a whole food plant-based diet, stay away from packaged good foods, anything that's processed. When I shop on the perimeter of the store. I never go, try to stay away from the aisles, anything that's, in a box or possibly a can. Some of the frozen fruits and vegetables may be okay, but, and that's it. And I try to, I try to have something sustainable in terms of, food or a nutrition shake, meal replacement shake every 2 to 3 hours, something small. I never overeat. And that's the key, and it's a matter of, people state all the time, oh boy, you better not eat past 9, 10 o'clock at night. Well, your body doesn't have a clock that says at 10 o'clock, you're going to, whatever that food is, it's going to turn into fat, right? But the downside, what do usually people grab at 8, 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night?
No,
Empty
grease.
calories, right? They're
Yes,
cookies and ice cream, and they're highly dense calories, and usually they're not good for you. So, but there's nothing wrong with having something nutritious at nighttime, and breaking that little fast after dinner or something like that. And, I'm a normal human being. I love sweets. I love candy. Hey, we're human beings, right? So don't let anybody fool you when people are shredded and ripped that they don't eat crummy food, because we are human as well. But everything's in moderation. If you want a piece of cheesecake every day, eat the piece of cheesecake, but you have to account for those calories. They got to come off somewhere else. You either have to move more or eat less, right? So, and it is so easy to maintain and lose body fat if you're just smart about it. It's simple. It's just it's a law of averages, right? So if you're going to overeat on the weekend, then you bump up your activity level, and you eat smaller meals with fewer calories through the week, because you're going to grab extra calories and be over your maintenance on your basal metabolic, your BMR, Saturday and Sunday, right? So everything's about law of averages, and that's how we gain those 10 pounds throughout the year. I mean, you're talking 70, 80 calories in abundance of what you normally eat above your maintenance, that you gain that 10 pounds. And that's not much. You're talking, a small banana, you're over your maintenance. So, you just got to be smart about it.
That's great. I appreciate you giving us details about the laser diet. And it's what works for you, which is important as well. You have a sweet tooth, which you said.
Believe
Yeah,
it.
and some people don't. They may like chocolate or sweets, could be salty foods or whatever, but it's all in moderation.
Yep.
With that, starting off, you mentioned sweet tooths. What is some of your, I don't say cheat meals, but what's your kryptonite when it comes to sweets? When you see it at the market and you see it, it's like, oh, I gotta get this, or
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I love peanut filled pretzels. I don't know if you've ever had them, but the peanut filled pretzels, I do love those. But I'm not into chocolates. I've never really, I'll eat a piece of chocolate, but like cakes and those type of things, they just don't, I'm not attracted to them. I don't know. But if I'm in the store and I see Mike and Ike's or candy, let's say licorice, cinnamon bears, or Good and Plenty, you have me there. I mean, you give me a bag of Good and Plenty's.
Man, there you go.
Man, I'll fall in love with you.
All right, so we know we gotta ship out the lasers, Saltine.
Yeah.
We gotta send her Good and Plenty's, and then we gotta deal with the boss.
Yeah, Eric's laughing at that one. He's like, "Yeah, I think I know Good and Plenty's. I like those."
Yeah, those back in the day. Woo.
Yeah, they're good. I don't know. They're just good. I like them. So
yeah,
I never was a fan of them, but we'll be sure to send you some.
There you go.
Then we'll have to deal with shout out to your wife, Lady Laser. We give her the name. You've been with her for so many years.
Yeah, 26, 27 years. Yeah.
27 years. You gotta give a shout out. Lady Laser, your daughters, the Mrs. Lasers. Tell us about them, how they've been influential in your life.
Yeah, so I have actually, so it's my second marriage. We've been together 27 years. When I met my wife, her name's Tanya. She had a son that was 8 years old. I had two girls from a previous marriage. They were 2 and 6, Bree and Katie, and her son was Garrett. We became a blended family. And it was just ideal, man. I tell you, we did it right. And the kids fell in love with each other. We had a great blended family. I adopted Garrett when he was 18. So Garrett's my son, and he's 35. And my daughter, that's 33, has our two grandchildren. Noah, who's a little girl, was born in November. And then Landon's 4, cute little boy. And then my daughter's 29, Bree. She's the wild child. She lives back in Tennessee. So, and that's it. Yeah, just an awesome family. So I appreciate you asking about that, because it's when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, that's all you have, really. You may have a couple good friends, but your family's everything, boy. You gotta make sure that you have a close-knit family, because at the end of the day, that's all you can count on, really.
That's important, and I appreciate that. Shout out to them. And we gotta give a shout out to your mom, Mama Laser. We'll definitely prayers for her, and you only get one.
That's right. And one special one, because you better hold on to your mama's. Unfortunately, my mom, who's 88, is going through cancer. She just started chemo treatment today. I'm back here in Montana visiting her. So anybody out there with well wishes and prayers, say some prayers for my mama. She's a very special lady, and gonna make me cry. She's a very special lady, and she's dynamic, and she's one of a kind. And if we could all be like my mom, this would be a better place to live in our earth.
Yes.
She's a very good person. So
Yes.
yeah, I thank you for mentioning her. Thank you.
Of course. When we talked off air, setting this up, I told you I was going to give a shout out to your mom. My background of taking care of my mom the last 5 years of her life.
Yep.
She's on now for 6, and her birthday just passed on the 31st of July. And Saltine knows being there. And shout out to Saltine's mom, Mama Salt, who's amazing as well. Yes, we
Yep.
call her Mama Salt. And my mom.
There you go.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
knows it. But
Yeah.
it's very few you got a great mom who, if without a great mother or great wife, great women help us as great men. And that's important.
Right.
So I could tell
Absolutely.
talking to you off air how much you loved your mom. And I was like, you better know me. Know I love my mom still. And Saltine Eric knows how much he loves Mama Salt. Just all of us, in general. Having great moms definitely helps us to be great men.
That's absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
shout out to Mama Lisa. Give her a hug, give her a kiss
Thank you.
for us, and she's tough. She's probably tougher than all of us.
Oh, she's pretty tough.
Yes.
she's tiny. She's 5'1", about 104.
Oh.
But boy, when we were growing up, she had this car. She had a Maverick, and I had my brother and 2 sisters. We'd be in the back seat. Back then we didn't have car seats. We didn't even put seatbelts on. We'd start flipping off, and she would have a spatula, and she would just, like she's driving, just hitting us with a spatula. That's Mama there, and she was tough. Man, we were scared. If she got mad, man, you ran.
Man,
yeah.
Some of the toughest ones, the little short ones.
That's
never know, man. They the ones like what was the movie Saltine? Was it don't shoot? Don't kill Mama.
Yeah.
Yes,
This was that Danny DeVito with Billy Crystal again. We started the little mom was all mad. I'm getting the television. That evil lady would creep me out as a kid. Me and my mom used to watch that.
That's funny.
I'm probably getting the title mixed up. Mama Shoot or Don't, something like that. One of them.
Yeah, the one with Sylvester Stallone was Stop or My Mama Would Shoot. That's what it is.
That's the one. Yeah. The little angry little
Yeah, Estelle Getty. I think Estelle Getty was the mother in that one. So yeah, Golden Girl.
Yeah, you didn't want to mess with her. Let's start with this, brother. Fans are just waiting for us to get to the meat of the bone. We got to the background of who you are, about Mama Laser, Lady Laser, Mrs. Lasers, the grandkids. Being an American Gladiator, when you hear the name American Gladiator, what is the first thing that comes to mind? It could be a person, could be an event, could be an injury, could be a party. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
One hell of a time. One hell of a time, boy. It was pretty damn special. 7 years, you don't realize what you are creating when you're creating something that was basically a dynasty. It was we were really the first reality TV show before we even knew it was reality TV, right? So, when the show ended, we were in 60 some odd countries. We took the world by the storm. With Sammy Goldwyn, who owned the show, really didn't do any advertising, and it just grew organically. People, they didn't have a lot of ads advertising the show back then. It was just word of mouth. And look at it. I mean, Netflix did the documentary 30 some years later, so there's a following. I mean, Netflix, we were the #1 rated show for a documentary, which is unheard of, for 3 weeks on Netflix. That's unheard of. So there's a huge following. UK has the International Gladiators. They're still doing gladiators over there. So it's pretty darn special when you think about it. And it's unfortunate anytime all of us are involved in something, we don't take in the moment, right?
Right.
Dan Clark Nitro said something, this was a while back. He said, the one thing that we don't do, we don't take in the moment, like really appreciate the moment that what we're creating, what we're doing. Yes. So I try to do that more nowadays. And when my older daughter got married, walking her down the aisle, and how the dad talks to the daughter before, they hug each other. I sat there and told her, I said, hey, take in that moment, take in this moment today, because you only get one moment, right? One moment. And it was a very valuable lesson, because sometimes we miss those moments and until it's too late. So yeah, but
that's great. Yeah, that's definitely amazing. You go so fast, so long, you don't realize the history made until it's over. You're like, oh wow. And for you, as you said, with you being the Iron Man of the Gladiators, all 7 seasons.
yeah.
When did it hit you that you were a star? I mean, granted, all the accolades you had before, college, NFL.
Yeah.
When did
Great
it
question, Evan. Great
that,
question.
hey,
No one's ever asked me that, but I'll tell you where it hit us when we did the live tour show. We were on a tour bus, right? That was 1994. So we had 5 seasons or so under our belt, and all of us gals and guys were all on the same bus, and we started up in Maine, and we had a different show every night. We were in Madison Square Garden, the Superdome, packing in 20-30,000 people every night. And myself and Steve Henneberry, who's Tower, we were just a few weeks into the tour, and we went shopping at a mall, and we literally got mauled. We could not even go shopping.
oh.
We didn't even think we were stars. Like, hey, we're just the Gladiators, right? We could not even leave the mall without signing autographs, like, for hours. And we just went there to buy some clothes. And that's kind of when it hit all of us, especially after each nightly show. We had groupies following us in their cars, following the bus. And it was just insane. It was 6 months of a whirlwind of basically being rock stars. That's when it hit us. That's when we knew. Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. That's amazing. Just to imagine that, just getting mobbed by so many people.
Yeah.
So you being one of the OGs, as everyone says, of the Gladiators. Tell us about your introduction. You have 30 for 30, which is one area tells the story in a different scope, which we'll get to later. And then you have Netflix, which is they did more chronological, go by piece, 5 episodes. For you, what was it like when you first stepped, when you became Laser, the American Gladiator? Tell us about the first time you put on that gear, that small gear, the jock strap, and them boots and makeup, and you sitting right there on the set. And we know what it's like, being a background actor. When you go through makeup, sometimes it don't hit you till you get on set. When you see the cameras, and you see the PAs and the directors and all this stuff, right? What went through your mind when you stood on set as Laser for the first time? Not Jim Starr, not Mr. Montana, not 1987 LA Ram, as Laser. What was it like? Step foot on that set.
Boy, that was a long time ago.
Your hand looked up. Your hand looked up.
That was a long time. That was 1990. That was a long time ago. Oh my gosh. What I can recall, playing football, I just was an animal, man. I just wanted to play football. And then when I put that uniform on, and you have the camera and the lights, they wanted you to be the best athlete you could be. But then at the same time, for the first couple of years, they wanted you to kind of ham it up in front of the camera. Well, I'm not that kind of guy, right? I'm a competitive, serious guy. And, I'm not a funny guy. I'm not witty. And so it was very difficult for me to turn off that competitive, and then all of a sudden be on camera and say something goofy for Hollywood. It was finally up until about the 4th season where the directors and producers just said, hey guys, be who you want to be. Say what you want in front of the camera. And you'll notice, people that have watched season 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 7, right around season 4, we just became better as all of us. All the gladiators became more of a unit. It just became more authentic. That's more the great real word. It became more authentic because it was who we were. It wasn't, like Malibu was on the first 13 episodes. He was only on 13 episodes, and they hammed him up as this Malibu long hair, golden boy. And it was kind of phony, right? I mean, and they stopped all that persona and just said, hey, be who you want to be, say what you want in front of the camera. You don't have to be someone you're not. And when that finally happened, man, I just became, it was just easy for me then. But yeah, when I first put on that uniform, it was nervous energy because I had to kind of be someone I wasn't in front of the camera, like saying stuff that was kind of goofy. Like, that's just not me, so.
Yeah, I could see that. And you could definitely tell it was authentic for fifth season where you just being you.
Yeah.
As opposed to our good brother, loving to death, Darren Malibu surfboard, which she clearly stated, I didn't touch a surfboard in my life. Gemini, you can just tell where, Ice, say certain things is like you playing towards the character. You're
That's
saying
right.
Little nuances and little cadences that goes with, rest in peace, Thunder. So you got to say a little quick thing about Thunder. I'm Ice, so it's Ice, or it's laser, it's all towards that, it felt real as time went on, and I'm glad it went that way. Because you being yourself, you don't have to act. Just
That's
let it flow. Instead of like, okay, I'm really a quiet guy, but I gotta be loud. Or if I'm a loud guy, I gotta be quiet. So you're trying more as well. I'm gonna ask one quick question because we have 3 minutes left, and then we'll start off with part 2. What was now? We know the notorious, I'm not gonna say notorious, the famous answer by most gladiators. What I ask you really quickly before we start with part 2. What event did you hate the most? Yes, that you hated the most.
Oh my God. They only had it on for like 2 seasons. Skytrack, when we were upside down.
Oh yes,
we were in the Velcro.
Yeah, the little.
Let me tell you something. I have a tendency, even like in the dentist chair, when your head's back, there's some vertigo that happens with me. And the first time I did it, I literally could not stop throwing up all day. They had me do it again the second day. And I finally went to the producers and directors, said, listen, I'm not doing it. I'm telling you, I'm not doing that event ever again. And they were kind enough to allow me not to do the event, but I literally, my dog, sorry.
We're dog people. We
literally
love dogs.
I just could not, I couldn't do it. I mean, and I couldn't do it. I mean, it was just that bad of an event, just terrible.
And I saw a team, I was texting you, watch. I said, I forgot about that game, the little upside down.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you, and you're on, it was I bet it was a 25-foot ceiling, at Universal Studios, upside down. And the fear of just falling, you knew you wouldn't, but there's always something that could happen, right? Yeah. But you're upside down. I don't know. I don't think there's too many gladiators or contenders that actually liked that event. It was just not a good event.
Malibu, you heard on the documentaries, most people hated Human Cannonball. Yeah. So did you hate Human Cannonball as bad as some of the others, or were you just okay with it?
I was just okay with it. It wasn't something I looked forward to. Between that and the Skytrack and probably Slingshot, if you remember that one.
Yes.
That was an awful game. But when it came down to the joust, Breakthrough and Conquer and Powerball, or the pyramid or the rings, yes. Man, oh man, I loved it. Like, wow. I was like all excited. We would know that day they would put a roster together, you know, with all the gladiators, and then because we did 2 shows back to back every day, long film days. So we would know what events we were on. And when you found out what you were doing, it was pretty exciting, except for when you were on those ones that you didn't like to do. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Let's talk about injuries.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Your background with being in football, being athletic. What are some of the injuries that you dealt with being an American Gladiator?
Oh boy. I had currently, just for the Gladiators, I've had, and I've lost count, I'm up to 16, 17 surgeries. And I've had 12 shoulder operations, all full thickness rotator cuff repairs. I got about 50 or 60 anchors in each shoulder holding the tendons because they're frayed. There's nothing left of them. But so I had shoulders. I've had a bicep tendon tear. I've had ankle surgery. I've had hand surgery. I've had nose surgery. I've had back surgery. I've had hand surgery. What else have I had? I said foot. I think that's about it, maybe. So I'm up there, and yeah, it's just awful. So it's just one of, you know, it's part of being an athlete and part of life. But I certainly, there's days I feel old. I can tell you that.
Man, what are some times that you felt was the toughest? 7 seasons. What are some memories that you felt like I'm sure we are, being athletes, former athletes, had to work through pain, whether it be back, arm, shoulder, hand, nose, face, neck, legs. What are some times where you remember that you legit had to grow and fight through an episode? You smiling, you got the great smile, you got deep down inside, you like, I'm dying, I'm hurting. What are some times you remember going through that?
Yeah, and to be honest, Evan, I mean, almost every year, almost every season, we would do 26 to 29 episodes in a matter of 3 weeks. We'd film 2 episodes a day for 4 or 5 days, take 2 days off, another 3 days, take 1 day off. And it changed up. And we did all the filming in June and July every year. And it, without a doubt, I would end up getting injured the first, second, or third episode of every season. And usually it was the shoulder, and I would tear a rotator cuff. And if you've ever had that and you're trying to do stuff with a torn and a full thickness rotator cuff, tear, you basically, your shoulder is just, there's nothing there. And I got to tell you, it was every year it happened. And I look at all the pain pills and the shots and everything that you had to take just to get through it, because you only got paid for what you were on in terms of how many episodes. So, and the residuals and all of that added up. So you knew if you missed, 1 episode of the 26, that ended up to be a lot of money, right? In terms of residuals. So just missing 1 episode and not being in that, that's what you're feeding your family and putting a roof over your head and feeding your family with. And so it was do or die, and it happened every year, and it was just unfortunate,
And with you dealing with every year being hurt, which we can understand, long filming days, being, contact show, reality show, entertainment as well. Did you ever feel before season 7, the last season, when did you feel like, all right, I don't know how long I can do this? When did you start feeling like you're starting to break down, or that fire, if it even happened, you're starting to burn out?
Good. Another great questions, Evan. Let me tell you, it didn't happen during the 7 seasons. Where it did happen was after the show ended. We did the live dinner theater show in Kissimmee, Florida, where people would come and have dinner and watch us against the same contenders every night, which was goofy as hell, if you ask me. But I was down there for 2 months at a time. 2 months on, I'd go back to California for a few weeks, then come back. And my good buddy Reggie, hey, stop. my dog. Sorry. Come here, buddy. Come here. Hey, come here.
Saying we love dogs.
Hold on. Hold that thought. Come here.
Get to see we call it the laser mutt.
The laser mutt.
The laser mutt.
Got a Springer Spaniel that's out of control. Stop. So anyhow, so here's what happened. So my buddy Reggie Bigler, who was Tank on the show, he calls me after the show and he said, "Hey, let's all go out." So we go out partying, right? And so I'm meeting him at a nightclub, and we're in a parking structure, and he's on the first level, and I drive up, and I couldn't find parking, so I go on the second level, and I instead of walking around, I wanted to do a shortcut, so I get out of the car, and he's yelling, "Laser, get down here!" So I see him down below on the first level. So what do? I jump off the second level of the parking structure.
Oh my!
Just to save some steps, right? So I jump off, and my heel of the cowboy boot catches the curb. And let me tell you something. My ankle swelled up so badly, they could barely get my cowboy boot off. And I tore every ligament. It was so bad. They sent me home. And it was really, I got to tell you guys, it was the first time in my entire career as an athlete where I just said, I had enough. I just was, hold on, guys. My dog is messing everything up here.
No problem.
What's up, Laser Mutt?
I know, he's messing everything up. So it was really the first time in my life where I had enough. I was done being injured. I was done being hurt. And, when you hear about these athletes that finally give up their career, but you as someone that's an onlooker of that athlete, you're thinking, God, they're in their prime. They're doing great. But that was my first time as an athlete to know, wow, I've just had enough. And I never returned after that. I went back to California. Took me months and months to heal up from that ankle injury. But I was over it. I was done with the rehab. I was done with getting injured, being in pain 24/7. And I just had enough. That was it. Yeah.
See, Lazy brother, we could laugh and joke with you because we talked to you off air. Yeah. You coming up with a new Gladiator game, jumping off a second level to another level.
Crazy stuff. I gotta tell you, I was a little nuts back in the day because I don't know if you watched that Netflix documentary. I was on the bus dancing.
Yeah.
I barely had any clothes on.
That was you with the little white jock. Oh man. Did Lady Laser see that?
I looked at that and I'm like, was I that freaking crazy back in the day? Like, oh my gosh, like crazy, right?
That was you with the white jock strap dancing. You can't make out who it was. You doing this? Did Lady Laser see that? How did she feel to see?
She laughed. She's not the jealous type. She laughed, so that's good. So, but I mean, that was my first time when I watched the Netflix documentary. Yeah. I've never seen that footage. And I looked at the footage. I was going, "Oh my God, that's me!"
So we gotta ask you. So that means your wife, you gotta reenact that dance for your wife. Yeah. Lady Laser, you gotta do the. It ain't gonna be filmed. We don't know who was filming it. Could have been something. Could have been Dan. It wasn't Malibu. Right. Could have been Dan. Could have been Gemini. Could have been Ice. One of the ladies.
Funny stuff there.
Man, that's amazing. With that, to talk about, the 7 seasons plus with the dinner party and all of that. Yeah. What are some rough time? We cover pro wrestling as a foundation. A lot of WWE Wrestling Hall of Famers have been on our show. AEW, people from Japan, actors, pop culture, comedians. And the one glaring thing is you talk about addiction. Yeah. Or different stuff. You have alcohol, you have pills and alcohol, uppers and downers. Yeah. Weed is legal, but weed, all different types of vices to get by, which I've seen myself, Saltine has seen, which we'll never mention on air, but just seeing that kind of stuff. Yeah. The realism that we do here talk about you. Did you have any issues with being addicted to any pills or alcohol, both for this different things? And it's not just that, because you have some
Yeah,
people that are cutters. Yeah, we know some people do different things as a
that's right.
release to get by the struggles of the road. So, did you have any struggles with that?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think I was fortunate. I never fell victim to any of that. You know, alcohol, drugs. Um, Call me lucky, because let me tell you, I did enough of that stuff back in the day, right? I mean, I did the partying and, you know, 80s and 90s, and, you know, and as an athlete, especially during the Gladiators, I mean, we were taking pain pills and Stadol and all this other stuff, and I never got addicted. And, you know, and
Oh,
all the surgeries I've had,
yeah.
I never tried to, it's odd. There's some people that when you take a anti like a prescription pain med, they had the opposite reaction. They never helped me. So I
Wow.
never, no matter how much I took, the pain would just still, you know, be there. I just it so thankfully, even though I was taking it, because maybe mentally it was helping me, I don't know, a placebo effect, but um, I'm just thankful that I never fell victim to the alcohol and the drugs and all the stuff that could have happened, you know. And I can't speak for any other gladiators. I know there's a few that had some struggling times with whatever they were going through, and it's really unfortunate, you know. Like Shelly Beatty, who was Siren, you know, she unfortunately she committed suicide. You know,
Oh man.
she was, I think, and I don't want to speak out of turn. I heard this was back before social media, but I heard she had she was bipolar and all of that, and she unfortunately she hung herself in a in a closet. And that's all I know. I mean, I thank gosh I didn't fall victim to any of that, and I'd say I'm pretty darn lucky, really, to be honest.
Man. Right. Thank gosh for you that you was able to not fall into that. Even some that has that turned over their life. You know, our good brother Malibu, shout out to Darren. You
Yeah,
see, on Saber, he turned his life around, and others. Dan Nitro,
yeah,
Ice, and everyone else. And you definitely gotta give a memoriam to Siren, who we talked before we started recording. Didn't know she
yeah,
passed, and as you mentioned, to Thunder, which I
yeah,
just watched the 30 for 30. And I was
yeah.
talking to y'all, we was talking off air, and I was like, man, I didn't know he was in that bad shape. And you see, he passed away a few months after.
That's right.
No one knew.
Nobody knew, and really, you know, and Billy Smith, who was Thunder, is a very good friend of mine, and his wife Francesca, who I keep in touch with today, still after his passing. But you know, Billy did the 30 for 30 documentary, and it was about 2 months after the documentary that he passed away. You know, and here's a specimen of a god of a.
Yeah, he was
I mean,
big
you
and
talk about
thin.
a physique. I mean, this guy
Yeah.
was so intelligent, so smart when it came to nutrition and dietary supplements. He knew the body inside and out. I mean, he had his own company, and just a sad situation
Man.
that he passed away. You know, really sad, just sad.
Yeah, this you can, tell Mrs. Thunder, our love and condolences to her.
Yeah.
Definitely remember him. He had the hair. You had
Oh
hair
yeah.
too. Your hair was always short. He had the
Yeah.
white, that rock ACDC
Yeah,
hair, the
he's the
90s.
Thunderdome. I mean, he
Yeah.
was just, man, what a guy he was. He was what a specimen, 330 pounds and 4% body fat. And man, he lived and breathed bodybuilding and diet. Man, he was a guru when it came to nutrition. That guy was really
Man.
intelligent. Wow. Yeah.
Now, to flip things around jokingly, being the younger laser, little laser, you dancing with the white jock strap, what have you. What was your party applications and choice? As far as, was it alcohol, was it drugs, did you eat, did you drink wine? What did you
Uh,
like to do? If you remember, out of respect, some people don't
yeah.
remember. What
I
did you like to
remember.
partake in? Your beer, what did you like to
Yeah.
partake in?
So more just usually alcohol. I mean, I start with beer, right? Coming from Montana, and then I'll probably go to a Tito's, soda. I like doing shots of whatever. Fireball. I like Fireball.
Oh no, man, we hate Fireball, but it's
Yeah,
cool.
I like Fireball. So, and I got to tell you, tequila. This is a funny story. So my wife, we'd always go to the Latigo Kid. They're in Agora Hills, California. We'd go there every Friday night, and they had these massive margaritas. And I'd have two and they were like 4 or 5 shots per margarita. Ooh. And I'd have 2 of those and be drunk off my ass. And we would get in a fight every Friday night, right? For years. And finally, I stopped having the tequila and everything was fine. And we realized that it was the tequila. And it's still that way today. If I have tequila, I turn into a freaking asshole. Like I want to bite your head off. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like, brother, I turn mean. Yeah. Brother, I got a brother that has, if he drinks like Crown Royal or something like that.
Canadian whiskey. Yeah.
Oh my God. He turns just mean, like just vicious mean. So yeah. So my choice was alcohol, and back in the day, I probably did more than, I lived with Dan Clark, Nitro. We were partiers, man. We were young and dumb and everything else that comes along with it. But, we did our fair share of things that we shouldn't have been doing, but thankfully it never stuck, which is good.
Yeah. We were told by some Mexican friends and pro wrestlers that's known, not going to mention names, about tequila. So tequila make you want to do 2 things. Want to make you want to fuck or make you want to fight. That's right. I learned that. And we were told that, so I'll tell you can attest. Not gonna say who said that. We done all seen him on TV, WWE. I still talk to him to this day, and straight Mexican told me that. I said, "Oh wow!" So I
believe it.
And it's not just tequila mainly that, but yeah, other people we know, whether it be light vodka, gin, right, or drinking dark, with bourbon or whiskey. Sometimes it make people angry. Some people make people cry and stiff and snot and falling asleep. So that's cool. Speaking of you and Nitro, shout out to Dan, our good brother, how you and I got in contact. There was a infamous story on a Netflix documentary about you and Dan fighting. You bit him.
Yeah.
And he punched you.
Yeah.
And then as we do as men, suck it up. I love you, bro. And start drinking. Is there anything about that story that wasn't said? We want to hear Laser's point of view. When we get Nitro, we going to hear his point of view. But what's Laser? You bit him.
Yeah, I did. Growing up in Montana, there's no rules in fighting. Nobody says you can't bite and kick and scratch. You do whatever you can in a dog fight, right? I mean, your life's on the line, and that's how I feel, right? I mean, I've been in enough bar fights and street fights. I can handle myself. Dan Clark's a lover. He's not a fighter, and so everything that happened, the way they portrayed it on Netflix, exactly how it happened. I mean, we were out partying and young, and we were taking his Jeep down to, we were in Palm Springs, spring break, packed full of women and just fun. And it happened just like that. We were in his Jeep and I put on country music and he turned the country music off and I put it back on country music and he turned it off and I just freaking slapped him across the face. And man, he slammed on those brakes and we about went through the windshield and he jumped out and I jumped out. We were both 240 pounds. I mean, we were big dudes back then. And we right there in the middle of the main street, we fought like dogs, man. And I bit him and then he punched me coming up. I put my hand out so he could help me up and he punched me and down I went. My eye just went, whoa. And that was it, but we ended up partying the whole night. We were all bloodied up and clothes were all ripped and we loved it. We hugged it out like brothers and that was it. But yeah, it was one of those things, he's still amazed that I bit him, but it's like, Dan, you're on top of me, man. I'm going to do whatever I can to get you off. I don't care what I do.
So you know this the story of Florida with the songs. It was a fight in he was traveling in Florida, WrestleMania, I think 2017, right before my mom passed.
Yeah.
And shout out to F6 Queen. She gonna get on me for saying this. Me and LSR, one of our photographer and staffers, were driving. There was, I don't know, it was 5, 6 in the morning. We driving on the road, and that damn song was it Our House came on. I cannot stand that song.
Me too.
I said, you don't turn this shit off. And she kept playing it. And to this day, Queenie's gonna laugh. So to this day, she rips me. She picks for me. Certain songs I cannot stand. That song, when I see her, she'll play it on her phone and she'll send me a link on YouTube. So I'm driving. I said, you don't turn this shit off. It's like, but I'm not going. That's we love her. She's a lady. I think I'm ready. I wasn't going to hit her, but I legit was about to stop their car. I said, you will walk for like a mile.
That's funny.
This is all funny road stories, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the contenders.
Yeah.
You seen the contenders. You have T Scoops. Great story about him persevering with the burns and him and Saber being close. I forgot the lady name, African lady that was in a lot of competitions.
Yeah, I don't remember her name, but
her name. What are some contestants that you remember? It doesn't have to be anybody famous that something about them that you just remember. It could be how they looked, struggles that they gave, stuff from backstage.
Yeah, there's one, Lucian Anderson, and tough guy, man. Him and I just, we respected each other, but we were in the Conquer ring and we just got into it, and you can find it on YouTube, we got into it and they had to break us up and, he was just a tough guy. I remember him. And then there was Rico Constantino and he was a tough contender. But over the 7 years, I never really tried to pay attention to who the contenders were. They were a force to be reckoned with. But I those two names, Eldon Kidd, obviously, he was on the Netflix documentary. He's a tough guy, but yeah, those Lucian Anderson and Rico Constantino, those guys stick out of my mind. Besides Two Scoops. Two Scoops was just a pure athlete, man. That guy was a stud. He wasn't an animal or tough. He had the moves, his quickness, and he was just a pure athlete. And but yeah, I think the two guys that I mentioned, Rico and Lucian, pretty tough guys. Yeah,
it's just great. Now Saltine, Rico, is that the same from WWE?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah, Rico
was.
He was a former cop.
Former cop. Yeah.
Was on there. My one of our close brothers, professionally and personally, Chris Featherstone, had Rico Package of Parsons on the show not long ago.
Gotcha.
And that's an uncommon name. So you said Rico. I said, wait, is that? I got a chance to speak to him before. Right. I was like, wait, is that same Rico? Just to make sure. But yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many Ricos Constantinos around.
No, it's not.
Yeah. He's a good looking dude and tough and built. Yeah, he was a good dude.
Now, when you put your name on YouTube, the first thing that comes up is a video that's 8 minutes long, says the best of Laser. And your quote clearly states, I will never lose 2 times in a row.
Yeah.
Have you lived up to that? 7 seasons plus the wine and dine, jumping off of parking lots, second floor to first floor. Have you lived up to that day?
That's right. I have, and I kept that promise. I never did lose twice in a row. I had probably the best jousting win-loss ratio. There was only no one ever really beat me on the joust. I beat myself, either missing and then falling off the joust because of the momentum or something. But, nobody ever really flat out beat me on the joust. That's one, I boxed in high school and I did those smokers, those 3 1-2-minute rounds or whatever. And I did it in college and, it was just, I just love it. I mean, it's just a one-on-one, that's why I love the conquer ring. It's just that wrestling between you and that other person, that other athlete, and there's nobody else you have to rely on but yourself. And I just love that. I mean, same with the rings. It's just that one-on-one contention with the contender, and yeah. So yeah, the joust was. I would have to say probably the joust was my favorite event of the 7 seasons that they came up with. That was truly my best event.
Yeah, that was one of my all-time favorite games. The joust sticks. Remember the little toys?
Yeah.
The Nintendo game sucked. It was a Nintendo, right?
Yeah, sucked, right?
The game was horrible. I'm sorry. I don't know if you played it, Jim, but
no, I haven't played, but I heard it's not very good.
Yeah, we shout out to our brother NFC Game Boy. He's a professional video game collector. He had that game. I remember playing that back in the 90s. I think when it came out, and it was just horrible. Graphics all
was
weird.
Terrible, I heard. Yeah.
Your head looked weird. Gemini was just like a black spot, 8-bit. It was horrible, man.
That's funny.
We gotta try to link up one time down the line to play that old American Gladiators game. With that, I was told that Jim likes to hunt.
Yes, I do.
And as I said, as myself being a host of a hunting show, your brother and buddy, your brother for life, Dan Nitro told me. He said, brother, you gotta ask Jim, ask Tower. You love to hunt. So we gotta ask you about your hunting, mountain biking, hunting, fishing. What about the great outdoors that you love? And with hunting, I got experience asking this. What's your favorite game? And what is your favorite rifle to use?
Oh, I love it. So I love growing up in Montana, that's where I'm right now, but we were raised to go deer and elk hunting, right? And that's people look at that as cruel. And I want to kind of start with that. It's not cruel when you take an animal and you're taking that animal to feed your entire family for the entire, almost for the fall and winter, and then into spring and summer. I mean, I remember as a kid, we would get a deer and elk, and every night that's what we ate, right? My family was poor growing up. So, and you're doing it for conservation. You're not just out there murdering a bunch of animals. You're doing it for conservation purposes. You're doing it for the meat to feed families. So I grew up with hunting, and I love it today. It's not so much about hunting as it is about being in the outdoors, about being with all your buddies and enjoying the time and the laughter. That's what it's all about, right? So yeah, at the end of the day, you're taking an animal and you're getting it processed, and you're getting sausage and elk steaks and deer steaks or whatever, and hamburger. But my favorite game animal that I like to hunt is mule deer. I just love hunting mule deer over elk. It's something that it's just cool to me. I don't know why. It's just people that are into elk hunting think people that hunt deer are kind of crazy, and we think the opposite too. So, but I bought in 1991. I bought a Weatherby laser mark, and I bought the laser mark because it was laser, right?
Right.
A laser Mark V. It's a very expensive Weatherby gun. Weatherby's been around forever. And I had that 300 Weatherby, and just a couple of years ago, I changed the barrel and I made it a 340 Weatherby. It's a Magnum. And so that's my life. I love to hunt and fish and mountain bike. My good buddy Mike Pincus out of California, who's a master trainer, got me into mountain biking shortly after the Gladiators ended, because I was doing cardio in the gym for an hour, and he's like, you got to get out of that gym and go outside and enjoy yourself. And I got into mountain biking, and I never looked back. I have never done, maybe a few times in the gym doing some cardio, but I usually end up going outside for a hike or walking for an hour or mountain biking. That's how I do my cardio and get some exercise in that way.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You mentioned about the barrel that you changed. Was your barrel, was it like a steel barrel? Was it a wooden barrel?
Yeah, it's a custom barrel. And what happened is, this was just a couple of years ago. I'm a pretty dang good shot, and I was missing everything. And I'm like, I sighted my gun in. It's right on at 100, 0 at 100. And then I'd be out in the field and I'd be missing. And then one time I'd be right on. So I went to a gunsmith here in Great Falls, Montana, and he looked at my barrel and he called it's called barrel burnout, where the barrel heats up too much.
Oh, heats up too much in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just eradicates the bullet, coming out. It might be on a few times and then it could be off 5 feet.
Right.
So, it was pretty expensive to go to a custom barrel, but I'm glad I did. And last year I went elk hunting, didn't do deer hunting, but I went elk hunting. It was the first time in 45 years that I didn't take down a deer or an elk. It was the first time ever. So saw a lot of them, but nothing that I wanted to take. So yeah, it's first time ever that I.
So you didn't lose twice. You just decided, hey, look, I didn't see anything I like.
That's right.
I'm not going to shoot it.
That's right.
Totally get that. Yeah. We got about 6 minutes left.
Alrighty.
Real quick with you. Go name a couple of the great American Gladiators. I want you to give one word responses and maybe a couple. We got to mention Nitro.
Nitro, tough and arrogant.
Gemini.
Team leader.
Malibu.
Not very tough.
They'll probably tell you that it's so.
I know he's gonna kill me, but that's the truth. I'm not, and he's not physically tough. He's a good athlete, but he wasn't physically tough.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Okay.
The late great Siren.
Wow. Just dynamite.
Ice.
Wow. The best of the best.
Yeah, she seems like a firecracker. She
is a fire.
So, yeah.
Her and I are we speak every day. She's a great friend of mine. I love her to death. She's dynamic. She's a go-getter. She's aged very, very well. Yeah. She's prettier now than she was back then. She's just a phenomenal person.
Stud. Yeah, she's amazing.
She's great. She's awesome.
Blaze.
Tough.
Storm.
Tougher.
What's his name? Saltine, the guy who created the American Gladiators, Johnny.
Johnny Ferrara?
Yeah.
Yes.
Narcissist.
Here's a funny thing with you. We met the apologize for part 3 for a few more minutes. Do you know, Jim, when you was born, the number 1 song in the United States was Duke of Earl by Gene Chandler, right? That's what the number 1 song in the UK was.
Wow.
It was Rock Rockahella Baby, Can't Keep Falling in Love by Elvis. Jeez. Which ironically, I guess everyone's boss, the narcissist Johnny, ended up being an Elvis impersonator.
That's a good one.
So think of the irony of that. You born Little Laser.
That's a good one.
Coming out of Mama Laser. The number 1 song in the UK is an Elvis song. And 26 years later, the boss horse ended up being the Elvis impersonator.
Wow. Yeah.
So as we mentioned, Jim, being a Little Laser, Elvis having the top number 1 song in the UK. You mentioned Johnny is a narcissist. Now, here's the interesting thing. We'll go to the 30 for 30. Yourself, Ice, I believe Dan Nitro. y'all guys refused to go into the Netflix, be a part of the documentary. Now, was it any more of the other gladiators that refused, or were you guys the three big ones that they wanted to single out? And why did you refuse to be a part of it?
Yeah. So us three, and including Tower, I think there was Sky, Diamond.
Yes.
I can't remember but the ones that you mentioned, absolutely. And the reason, we didn't do the documentary for ESPN was Johnny Ferraro called each of us individually and said, listen, we're doing this ESPN documentary. If you want to be involved, great, but the show's going to be about me. And if you want to be a part of it, great. And obviously all the gladiators speak to one another. So after his individual phone calls to all of us, we called each other up. And keep in mind, this went over a course of a few weeks. So it wasn't just a one-time phone call, but Johnny just said the show's going to be about me. And I remember, and I was pretty close to Johnny, and I remember having a conversation, said, Johnny, that the show is the history of you and how the show started is important for the end user, the viewer. They need to know where it started, how it started, but they're not viewing the American Gladiators because of Johnny Ferraro. I mean, that's the bottom line. But Johnny being Johnny, and unfortunately, Johnny's a narcissist. I mean, I like the guy, but he wants the world to know where the show started, who started it, and that he was the creator. And then there's Dan Carr, who's the co-creator. I mean, so we decided as a group collectively, we got together and did a conference call a few times, myself, Nitro, Zap, Ice, Tower. And we said, listen, we're done. They didn't want to pay us at all. They $0 to do the ESPN documentary.
Not ESPN. I know they got money.
Yeah. So we finally just said no. Then thankfully, Dan Clark, who was an executive producer for the Netflix, he's in that business. So fortunately for Dan, he's the one that really springboarded Netflix to do this documentary, and how they almost simultaneously launched at the same time. That was all by accident. That wasn't planned. So we decided we're done. We're not doing it. So they came back though. ESPN came back, wanted to offer, like 10 grand or 12,000. But at that point we decided, no, we're not doing it. And that was before we knew that there was even going to be a Netflix documentary. So we decided not to do it.
So they offered you 10 to 12 per a piece?
No,
10 to 12
total.
collectively.
Yeah.
So person. If you got, Saltine, do the math for me real quick. My daughter's great at math. I wasn't. I know the basics. So you mentioned you, Jim, Nitro, Ice, Zach, right? That's and 4.
And Tower.
And Tower, 5. Did you mention anybody else?
I think there was there could have been Sky. I think there was 6. Diamond Electra.
7. Electra's 8.
I know, in the beginning, and that's why I'm a little upset with Malibu, even though he's a great guy. He was on board with us. We talked to him. I mean, I personally have phone calls with Darren McBee and said, listen, either come with us or don't. And somehow he got talked into doing the ESPN, which he told us, and he gave us his word that he wouldn't go with the ESPN documentary, and he did. And I kind of lost all respect for the guy after that, because it's just not cool what happened. Yeah. So it is what it is, whatever. I don't know his situation. So that was before, we didn't know we were doing the Netflix documentary, and fortunately they paid us. And it worked out the best. I think I think having the ESPN documentary unleashed enough media for that month prior to our release.
Yeah, like a big push.
It springboarded ours to even be better. And ours started, they did such a magnificent job telling our story to the world. Like, that's how it should have been. That's what Johnny should have created. But instead, the ESPN documentary, to me, it was awful. Yeah, there was parts of it that were good, but come on. Two episodes that are just like, it just drug on about Johnny, and it's like, people see that, right?
No one knows who he was. No one would know who he is.
No.
If it wasn't for that. You created it back then in the day. We're watching it for you guys, the contestants. This indie show. Who created Family Guy? Who created
That's right.
This one, The Simpsons, or this one? Okay, but you know who we see on camera.
Yeah,
created it's good. Yeah,
that's right. And it's unfortunate because Dan Carr, who was a co-creator, the name American Gladiators. I called Dan Carr. I had not spoke to Dan Carr since the show ended in 1997. I called Dan, got his phone number, and he was so thrilled that I called him. And he didn't get paid anything for the show. Like, that's Johnny. Johnny took all the money. Like, that guy, it's just sad. Like, gosh darn, man. Johnny made a ton of money off a show, and not to share the wealth with his buddy, it's just wrong. So that just shows you that's the kind of individual. And I hate talking about people, but gosh darn, it's like, you take care of your brotherhood and your family and your best friends. And he just left Dan Carr out like he was nothing. And that's wrong.
So you know what? That makes sense why part one of the documentary, when the director asked Johnny about the beginning, he just basically said American Gladiator started whatever date, 1982. He didn't want to talk about it. So it makes sense.
That's right.
Because he shit, he effed over Dan.
That's right.
It makes sense. And Saltine, do the math real quick for me. Jim mentioned 8 people. So $12,000.
Yeah.
You divide 8 and 12,000, how much is that? Check for me, please. So you can see how much.
80, 90, 100 grand? I don't know.
12,000 divided by
8.
8.
That's how much. How much is that?
Divided by 8. That is 1,500.
So you getting paid $1,500. You being laser. The OG. All the episodes, and eating and dining and eating probably stale fruit, chips and all that stuff, and food. Diamond and all you guys, the OGs and people that's been there, y'all only getting paid $1,500.
Well, let me back up. That's incorrect. They wanted to pay us. I think they came back at 10 grand, but they wanted to pay us 10 grand per gladiator. So it was for the 8 listed gladiators, myself, Nitro, Zap. There was Turbo that was still, he decided not to do it, but and then Ice and Zap and Tower. You're talking, what is that? 60 grand, 70 grand for something that that they can afford, but they didn't want to pay us. That's unfortunate. And Netflix, they stepped up. They didn't pay us a shitload of money, but they paid us 15 grand. That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to fight for it. They offered us that. That's the great thing, at least we got something for, we got to tell our story. It was a 1-day shoot, like 15 grand. Come on, why not? Right. So, to tell our story, why not?
And with Netflix, you got to see the chronological of beginning, and it was really about you guys and the merchandise and the traveling and live tour and everything that went on. You really got to see who everybody was, personalities or who they were. You got to explain, okay, the different personalities. Nitro was this, Laser's that, Malibu's this, Ice is that, Storm is this, Blaze is that. Yeah. You got to see quick synopsis of the storytelling of who you guys were as characters and even your personal lives, the stuff that y'all dealt with backstage, and it was a more complete aspect and complete story. as opposed to 30 for 30. It was just the Johnny show. Why are we seeing graphics of Johnny's face closed up with the eyes and you see even the. I'm like, it's like, what is going on? I don't want to be filmed at my house. I got you staying there with luggages and both been on sets. I know that took a long time for the editing. Okay, stay here with these 2 random ass briefcases. Then we're going to zoom in. How many shots did it take to do that? Then we're going to see your eyes and fly like an animal. Like, why are we saying all this? You don't know who you were.
That's right. Look at Eric. He's laughing.
It's like, what is. Anyway, your thoughts of Bob. You know, Bob the man, Bob the lead producer, or no, the director, Bob Levy. Yes.
What a character.
Yes. He's who himself burping, eating potato chips in the other documentary on his phone. He's
burping. He burped.
Like, yes.
And they kept that in there. That is just like, that's some weird shit right there. That's weird.
You don't care, man.
Before we sign off, I gotta say this.
Sure.
I don't even know the guy's name, Antoine or whatever his name. And he said he walked into the Gladiator locker room and there was syringes and anabolic steroids everywhere. He is such a farce and why he would make up such a story at a caliber of a individual of his, of what he does for a living, to say that is so far from the truth. It upsets me so much. I even wrote him on LinkedIn and sent him a message and said, shame on you for lying. Why would you lie about something that was not the truth? There was never steroids in our locker room. Nobody talked about it. It's not like you're in the locker, you're at the nightclub and you're in a bathroom and everyone's doing a line of Coke or something, right? I mean, you don't line up people and there's steroids hanging out and you got syringes everywhere. It's so upsetting that someone like him would make up a story like that. That is just shame on you. Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to do? Make a name for yourself? I mean, come on.
Pretty much. Awful.
Just awful.
I'm sorry about that, brother. I remember that in the hearing, and I didn't mention anything. I said, look, talking to you and other guys that been on the show and that's coming soon, want to hear from you guys because you guys were there. Someone could easily say something random on TV.
Oh.
We deal with pro wrestling all the time, and MMA, people say stuff all the time, and it's on the dirt sheets and online. So we get text messages all the time. Is this true? It was like, okay, that's bullshit. That's not true. Well, I heard it online. Well, I mean, you didn't hear it online. You saw it online.
Yeah.
But it's not the truth. People say, oh,
right.
I saw it on the radio. You heard it on the radio. You read it online. So I'm sorry about that, brother. Just trying to go into business for itself. Gotta ask you these very quickly. We didn't get a chance to ask Malibu, but you being on here now, somebody who hasn't been talked about mostly, and he left during the Dark Ages, is the original Titan. Your thoughts on him? The other black gladiator besides Gemini.
Yeah,
they said on the documentary that he got upset, he had charged and tried to bring void rage. Well, what are your thoughts on Titan? Have you talked to him?
I haven't talked to him since the day he left the show. I thought he was a great guy. I mean, David was just a nice guy, right? I mean, but he snapped, and he went after the ref, and gee whiz, I mean, things happened, but I thought he was a great athlete, great person, nice guy. I had good athlete. He just snapped. I don't know what happened. But yeah, unfortunately, the day he left the show, I've never seen him. I haven't talked to him. I've never followed him on social media, if he was even on social media. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
I won't say on air, but I'll text you some things doing my digging of what he's been up to and some things that I got word of. Nothing bad, but not going to talk about people's lives on air, but I'll text you. But he's still alive from what I know. I just wanted to get somebody's viewpoint who was around him, because we just saw he was there, he snapped, he denied the allegations, and that was it. He's barely even talked about. A lot of people forget about.
Yeah.
Real quickly, guy who we met was really nice to us, Mike Adamley.
Yeah, what a good guy, man. What a stud.
His wife
Wow.
is sweet too. Yeah,
I
his
love
wife is
that
so
guy.
nice.
You talk about a unique, just a great character, integrity, smart. Unfortunately, Mike's going through some CTE, with the brain stuff. And yeah, just really sad. But him and his wife, just great people. He's without Mike at the helm as a host, the show I don't think would have been as great as it was. There was Lisa Milosky and other ones. Larry Zonka. We had a bunch of really
Joe Osmond.
Yeah, that's right. Really good host, but Mike Adamley was the anchor. He was the anchor of that show, man. He was dynamic.
He was. I'll mention very quickly. We met him. We was at the Congress. Basically the concussion dinner.
Oh, you were. Yeah.
Every year back in 2018, and Triple H was there. Bob Costas. We met Mike Adamley. What's his name? Saltine. Famous.
Chris Nowinski. Chris
Nowinski, black NFL player. LCT passed away. Now, is it Lenny Moore? Something. One of the guys, but we met his wife who dealt with CTE. Really? But Adam Lee was such a joy. His wife was so sweet.
Yeah.
I helped Mike walk to, and I've said this publicly, but I helped him walk to the table to the main lobby because he had like a silent auction. Wow. And he was just so sweet, man. He kept touching my shoulder because we would just talk to him as regular people. It wasn't like, oh, you was on American Gladiators. You did WWE commentary. Yeah. This was regularly just talking to him. Hey, how's your day? And food and laughing. And he just was so humble and so thankful. And his wife was so sweet. I don't remember his wife's name. And he openly said, it was like, hey, man, just bear with me. If you got to repeat yourself, I'm dealing with CTE.
Yeah.
And, almost made me cry because he was so humble.
Yes.
He didn't know who we were. I mean, he had to be something to be there. But the fact that he was so aware and say, hey, if I don't answer real quick, give me time. If you have to repeat, he was like, my mind. He joked. He was like, about CTE joke. He's joking about saying, hey, my mind isn't all there. Too many hits on the head. And it's just a great guy. I love Mike Adams.
Yeah, it's a good guy.
And it was good to see him on the documentary too. Yeah. And he still looks good. He still looks.
Yeah, he looks good. Yeah.
Good. Before we let you go, you also, sir, was a film director. I believe it was a film called Seduction of the Will. Came out 2001. Am I getting this correctly?
I don't think so.
Would you you didn't ever have Seduction of the Will? Oh wow.
No.
So I guess IMDb got you wrong. IMDb had
you got some bad information there.
Yeah. Yeah, we got information from one of our buddies. And on IMDb, you look up your name, it says you directed Seduction of the Will 2001.
No.
And if you pop up your name on Wikipedia, it comes up. And I was like, wait, I don't think he directed a movie.
No, I didn't do that.
look, and you know what the movie was about?
No.
It was about the Third Reich. It was about Germany and Hitler. And I'm like, which is each his own. I'm like, wait a minute, did Jim?
Yeah, no, not me.
Look it up here. Let me see.
Eric's like, no, not me.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, the guy she was double checking here. Got your movies on here. He got you up. Seduction of the Will, producer.
I know. I saw that. I've read that. That's not true. That's not
And that's what the X. Diddley Breed. This can't be 1989 weightlifter. IMDb. You did some with Andrew Dice Clay.
Did that. Yeah.
Okay, so IMDb fix your stuff. Because so I was like, wait. I said it's Laser doing a movie about Hitler in the Third Reich.
Gee whiz. That's awful. That is awful.
I will text you the screenshot. I saw that you got to send to a buddy of ours who do information because he was excited he couldn't be on today. One of our extended families, and I was like, maybe he did. Maybe so. We'll ask him. But okay, so we got it cleared up. IMDb, you got it wrong. Please take Laser's name. He didn't do Seduction of the World. He didn't do Deadly Breed. His name, it's other Jim Stars. It wasn't him. Wasn't Laser from the American Gladiator. It wasn't. Definitely not. And very quickly, see before we end, and this is my research because I'm very thorough. You being the man that you are, I know and got the hint that you keep your private life separate from your public life. So let the viewers watching and those listening the importance of keeping your private life private and your public life public. Because in the age of social media, people put everything out there where they at, which is okay. Not saying it's a problem, but in the world of social media, everything's public.
Yeah.
So how was it for you? Why is it important to keep your private life private?
Well, I've never, and I just started posting stuff on Instagram day before yesterday, because you really, the springboard off the Netflix documentary, you got to be relevant. I had a conversation with Lori Fetrick Ice. She said, Jim, you got to get more relevant, and people want to know what you're doing. And, and I've always looked at it as, I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want to come off as posting a picture of myself and people thinking, man, he's arrogant. That's just not me. I'm not arrogant. I don't have an ego, but, I guess if you want to springboard off your career, especially with the Netflix documentary, I think you gotta get out there, right? So, and it's important for your family, because what I do as an athlete, the Gladiators, that's my life. And why should it affect or be part of the mold of their lives, right? Because once you start mixing in your personal life with your, the social media life, your whole family's affected, right? They may not want all of that notoriety or, and so I try to keep it separate, and it's tough to do it, but I've tried to manage it as well as I have been able to.
That's great. Yeah. And then you just wanted their perspective on you of why you feel it's important, because some people do, and some people tend to be more of an open book. And not to say there's anything wrong with tagging and clicking where you at, what you do, what you eat for breakfast, what kind of milk you like, whole milk, 2%, skim. What's the other one? Goat. What's the other one?
Almond goat.
Yeah, almond milk, or what's the other milk? Silk and soy milk and Apple Jacks over Fruit Loop. It's cool. Some people are like that, but still gotta have some things private. And and I appreciate you being private too. Last question before we end it. American Gladiators had a reboot with the great legendary wrestler Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of that? Just give us your real quick thoughts of it. You wasn't on that.
It was embarrassing. It was awful. Embarrassing. They ruined the show. Hey, listen, if NBC can't make it work, they failed in every single possible way. They didn't have any of us old gladiators on as cameo appearances or host, or we could have even competed back when they did the show. They just, they had Wolf or whatever howling like a wolf, and Hulk Hogan, he, great guy. I know him. But he's not a host. They should have had Mike Adamle. They should have brought back. Again, I've used this word a few times in this podcast. It needed to be more authentic. They made it so Hollywoodish. I think the games were great. The lighting, the colors, everything was perfect. But, the way even the referee was awful. So they just, they've ruined it. And that's, and I think they only lasted a season, but it was just terrible, just awful.
Speaking of refs, we got a fan question. Shout out, loved you, Laser, watching this now. Shout out to you, the old man ref that we saw. Who was he? Is he still alive? And we got to yell Gladiators ready. Who was that?
Larry Thompson. He's still around. He's
Oh
What
man.
Gladiators ready?
Yeah.
He was the man. I mean, he was another, like, without Larry Thompson and Mike Adamle, the show wouldn't have been as good as it was. Those two are just icons. They made the show, right?
So no one messed with Larry. He was the older guy, average older. No one touched him.
That's right. And he didn't take, let me tell you, he was serious about his job. He was tough, man.
When you saw his hand, look.
Yeah, he'd kick you out. He would hold his own, man. He was serious. He took his job seriously.
But now, correct me if I'm wrong. And I remember watching mostly all 7 seasons. How long was Larry on the show? I know he was there for the earlier episodes. Did he make it?
I would say
it was like season
seasons?
4, season 5, 4. Okay,
5, maybe 4, definitely.
Okay, I thought so.
And yeah, he was on the last 4 for sure. Maybe 5 to 4. I don't know, but he was there a long time.
Yeah, that was my. If you get in touch with him, tell him we love him, man. It's iconic. You get the theme music and Mike Adamle, then Larry Zonka's mustache, and you had Gladiators ready.
Gladiators ready.
Yeah, he said like, did the contenders be out of breath? They try to, like, Dad, could you at least let them get some breath right after finishing the eliminated? What you think? Okay. They're like, let the man, right when they go through that plastic, that paper. I remember right here, Mike Adams, right here. What you think about this? Like damn, can he get a breath? And about the fans, in this, and you've been great, man. Any memorable stories about the fans that was there for you, Laser?
Well, we had quite a few Make-A-Wish Foundation requests. Tower had one on Netflix that was pretty personable. It was a personal story, and it was very, unfortunately, it was what his Make-A-Wish Foundation was to a little boy. I had one as well, and they flew him out to LA to meet Laser. That was his wish. And, and unfortunately this little boy passed away a couple months later, but of all the stories, I remember the mom and dad had sent me a letter, and I had not known he passed away. And they sent me a letter and said that him meeting Laser was his dream. And it touched me so in so many different ways, right? So, I mean, here's parents reaching out after their child loses their life. Man, that's that really hits you at home. That you just don't know what kind of impact you have with people, right? And I never thought about it, but boy, when I got that letter, I still remember reading it and breaking down and crying and feeling so badly for the parents, and then meeting that little boy and walking him around. We were down in Rodeo Drive, and we went to the Planet Hollywood and for the day, and we just hung out, and we were in a big limousine, and he was so happy, man. It was what a great memory. What a great memory. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, Will. Let's end it off with one last question, and we'll have you go ahead and do your plug, and we'll end our interview with Laser.
All right. I want to know, why was you the longest tenure of the American Gladiators until it ended? What was it, like the fear of losing the money and the touring from the TV shows, or like did you have anything to fall back on?
Yeah, wow, you're a good one. I think it was just, I have to think about that. Like, why did I last 7 seasons when some of these gladiators lasted a half a season, 1 year, 3 seasons? Nitro and those guys got fired that 1 year. I think I was just like the Duracell battery, man. I never wanted it to end. just wanted to be that athlete, right? I mean, I had a dream to play professional football, and unfortunately it was taken away because of a serious injury. And when I got that opportunity as a gladiator, I trained my ass off. I did everything I could to be the best of the best. I mean, I trained and ate correctly, and I did all the rehab I needed to do for every surgery I had after the Gladiators every season. And I just wanted to be the best and be a good person, you know, to the producers and the directors and Johnny Ferraro even. And I think I sustained myself as that gladiator that just had that never ender, you know, that never surrender type attitude. I mean, that's a motto I've lived by, and I signed my autographs, never surrender. I still live by that motto. My kids live by it. I just, yeah, I don't know. I think I just never wanted it to end, you know.
I like that. I like
Whatever
that.
I just never wanted it to end.
I like that. Definitely.
That's
Thanks, Eric.
that's
You're
amazing.
welcome.
You got the Iron Man here, Jim Starr, all 7 seasons of the American Gladiators. You can watch the show on different streaming sites. I believe it's on Hulu. You can watch the documentary, ESPN 30 for 30, which is really called The Johnny Show. If you have YouTube TV or what have you, you can watch the better documentary on Netflix. All 7 seasons, you hear about the Iron Man, Lee Guard, Cal Ripken, professional wrestling. You deal with Undertaker with the WWE, long time Sting with WCW, long time. Certain people just lifers in sports. Certain people, athletes, played with one team forever,
Yeah,
which is rare, but you just have.
yeah.
Um,
Before,
but
guys, before we sign off, Evan and Eric, I just want to say that it was a pleasure, and some of your questions were questions that I've never been asked in all the last 40 years of the show. So kudos to you. You did your homework, and I just want to say it was a pleasure. And awesome podcasters. Good job, man.
thanks,
Thank
appreciate it,
you.
Jim. And you're definitely a personal brother to us. We'll definitely be in touch. Prayers to Mama Laser.
Thanks, man.
Myself and Saltine personally have been through that. So you ever need to talk, we talk enough as it is off air. If you ever need to talk or event or just reach out,
You bet,
I'm
man.
here. Saltine is here. Mama
All right.
Salt, she's recovering herself with an injury, and I know what my brother Eric is going through. So I've been there. So Mama
Yeah.
Lisa, she still whip our asses to this day.
That's right, man. Look out.
with the spatula, right?
That's
we
right.
Gonna,
She'll get that spatula and
look,
start hitting you in the back seat.
we
So,
gonna have to ship you a spatula and what was the candy you like?
well,
What would you say?
Good and plenty's, Mike
Good
and
and
Ike's,
plenty's, Mike and
cinnamon
Ike's,
bears, and licorice.
licorice. Okay,
Not black, red licorice.
all right. Text me the list, brother. We got you. We'll send it soon, and let Lady Laser know. Just let her know. Hey, I'm gonna get a package at some point.
That's right.
Under the mat radio. So you don't want Mama Laser hitting us. Woman Lady
You guys
Laser
are awesome,
hitting
man.
us.
You guys
So,
are great.
thanks, man.
Listen, you guys take care. I'll send you some more gladiators your way. And like I said, Evan, I'll send you some stuff on text message, but I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your guys' busy schedule and great podcast today. And I hope everyone enjoyed it, and we'll keep in touch, definitely.
Well, thanks, man. Hug your dog for us. And everybody, this is Under the Mat Radio here with Laser, Jim Starr. Do not go to IMDb because he was not in any of the movies except for American Gladiators, which is a TV series, and he did the Andrew Dice Clay, One Night with Dice Clay. Everything else doesn't have. You got the Laser Mutt, you got Mama Laser, Lady Laser. He's a C2 if he wants Mike and Knights. Mama Laser hits you with the spatula if you don't treat him right.
I love it.
This man is great. Awesome, he's awesome. He played for the NFL. He played for also college, longest tenure, 7 seasons, and went through that horrible dining experience with the American Gladiators. He still got the smile. He still got his biceps. He still has his teeth. Went through 16 surgeries, 15 of them with shoulders. He's still holding in there. Love you much, Jim. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, man.
And we'll have you back on soon.
Peace out, brother.
Thanks, brother.